Welcome back, everyone. The Florida man strikes again. This time he's out with a new piece of legislation, the Stop Woke Act. Yes, exactly what it sounds like.
By us protecting against CRT and this Stop Woke Act, we're going to be making sure that that time in school is actually spent learning and not just being targets of indoctrination. And that is going to be a very good thing for parents throughout the state of Florida.
The Stop Wrongs Against Our Kids and Employees Act takes aim at critical race theory, which Governor DeSantis banned in June, and which Florida school districts say, no worries here, they weren't teaching it anyways. The proposed legislation would give parents a private right of action to sue if they believe their kids are being taught critical race theory, and allow parents to collect attorney's fees if they win their lawsuits. The act would also protect employees against a hostile work environment due to critical race theory. Republicans have made CRT an academic theory to examine power, their latest villain to stoke white anxieties and stifle understandings of black history. But that didn't stop DeSantis from citing a black civil rights leader to justify the move.
You think about what MLK stood for. He said he didn't want people judged on the color of their skin, but on the content of their character. You listen to some of these people nowadays, they don't talk about that.
Back with us to discuss this is Michael Harriot, opinion columnist at The Guardian. Thanks for sticking with us, Michael. Okay, what do you think of this Stop Woke Act? Governor DeSantis already banned critical race theory, even though it wasn't even being taught in Florida schools. What do you make of this?
Yeah, so one of the things I disagree with is that we should be worried about whether history is going to be taught correctly in school. I don't think it's been taught correctly in school to begin with, but I don't know if this will necessarily make it worse, because what they're doing is not targeting history in school. They're virtue signaling and dog whistling to white people about this concern that doesn't exist, right? So I don't know what the effects will be, but what he's effectively done is put a bounty on teachers' heads who want to talk about race in class, and it's a bad thing generally, and specifically, they co-opted the word woke, but it really doesn't mean anything, because this is what they've always done. They turned the phrase Black Power into something that was anti-white. They turned Black Lives Matter into something that was anti-white. So this is what they've done throughout history to kind of flip the perspective on anything that Black people do, and to make it something that is anti-American or Marxism or anti-white or anti-cop, and you name it, they'll do it.
Yeah, it's such a shame that people want to interpret it as if you're pro-black, that means you're anti-white. That's certainly not the case. But the really special part of all of this is that Governor DeSantis cited Martin Luther King Jr. to justify the need for the proposal. So what do you think the late civil rights leader would have thought of the way Ron DeSantis used his words today?
Well, first of all, we know we don't have to speculate. First of all, Martin Luther King didn't say we don't want people judged by the color of their skin. He said he didn't want his children, the Black children, because he knew white people weren't being judged by the color of their skin, right? So he was specifically talking about Black people, and he did that throughout the speech, the I Have a Dream speech, when he spoke at the March on Washington. And the thing about Martin Luther King is he specifically spoke to white liberals. He specifically spoke to white pastors and white churches. He talked about white people all the time. And he said specifically that power never gives up its power, without a fight. And so when Ron DeSantis and others cite Martin Luther King, what they're doing is, those are the people who would have turned a water hose on Martin Luther King, or put another bullet in Martin Luther King's head, or would have demonized him. We know what people like Ron DeSantis did when Martin Luther King was alive.
Well, it's almost ironic that he would talk about a historical figure that way when he is trying to stay away from teaching that history. And on the other hand, they're trying to preserve statues and saying we need to preserve history. We need to remember our past. We need to keep all these statues up around the country. Yet with this, they don't want to do that. It's remarkable. Now, PEN America reports that there's 66 bills, educational gag orders that take aim at critical race
Yeah,
theory. And
yeah.
this year,
The
in
thing about
26,
the whole their love for yeah, the thing about their love for statues and their love for this venerated Confederate culture is that it doesn't comport with what the other thing that they're trying to do. They're saying we don't want you to teach the racist part of history, but we want to keep the racist part of history up, right? We want you to see it. We want you to, to walk by it every day. We want you to spend your tax dollars maintaining it, but not talk about it, right? Not say what it means, not teach like what these people did. And it is an oxymoron, and it is moronic without the oxy, right? So what they're trying to do is to preserve white supremacy in education, essentially, right? Because otherwise there is no logic. There is no logic to keeping one part of history and perpetuating it, but wiping away or outlawing, essentially, or banning the other part of history.
yeah, it doesn't make sense. What I was saying before, Michael, was that PEN America reports that there's 66 bills, educational gag orders that take aim at critical race theory. And in 26 states this year, 12 of them have already been passed into law. So why are these proliferating this year?
Because it's I don't even know if there is a move against critical race theory or teaching history in school as much as there is a they're gearing up for these midterm elections, and they want to get this is a issue that white people or that consolidates white voters, right? They don't have the economy, they don't have voting, anything about voting, they don't have any real legislative or economic or political back thing to stand on except racism, right? Like, we're going to protect your kids from crying in social studies class because they're not going to give them more money. They're not going to protect them from the coronavirus. They're not going to help them economically. So this is the only thing that they have. And I think that's a large part of it. So they're not really attacking history. Is that, we are just the nail that they're using their racism hammer to beat to signal to their political base.
Yeah, of all the problems happening in the world right now, that's what they decide to focus on. Anyhow, we appreciate your time, Michael. Thanks
Yeah,
so much for
yeah.
sticking with me through the show tonight.